This podcast is all about getting divorced without losing your mind, where Corey Shapiro, a seasoned New York City divorce attorney, shares valuable insights from his book, Getting Divorced Without Losing Your Mind. He'll teach you how to be more creative and less reactive in your divorce. He also dives into discussions with experts and thought leaders on navigating divorce intelligently and calmly.
Welcome to Getting Divorced Without Losing Your Mind, the book and podcast that helps you learn to be more creative and less reactive in your divorce. I am your host, Corey Shapiro. Today's episode, we're dealing with the divorce budget. We are starting a new topic. We're going to do 5 videos on this. Today's video is just an overview of some foundational ideas, but then we're going to deep dive into each area of the budget. We're going to start with emotion. Ooh, that's the big one. We're going to then move to money. That's not far behind. Money is frightening. We're going to deal with energy. Do you have the stamina to deal with your divorce? And the time. It takes so much time, divorce. So we're going to talk about all those. We're going to do a 5 video series. That's what we are doing. So buckle up. And really, if the budget worries you, I think this is great. This is great. It's like planning a wedding and thinking, rationally before things get out of control. And that's what happens in a divorce. Things get out of control. But before we get into it, let's start with our quote. It's from Susie Orman. It goes like this. They got married. They got divorced. Half the money goes out the window. Yep. Half the money goes out the window in these longer term marriages. So be very careful. First, be very careful getting married and also very careful getting divorced. Because if you think of your retirement account, you saved it for so long, possibly half of that retirement is gone. And think about the money you're going to spend on your attorneys. Courts like to say, you really want to spend your college kids' education on your attorneys? No offense, counselors. And the answer is no, you don't. You want to try to resolve this. And sometimes you are forced to have a war. I understand that. But even then, we can be mindful. We can be efficient. We can maximize our resources. And that's what this podcast and this 5 episode arc is all about. So let's think about this foundational concepts. And I'm aware of the urgency, of the pull when you feel like you have to do something. Let's think like holiday gifts. And I'm aware of this idea of overspending. And I want to keep that in the back of the mind. I'm not discounting that need to do more, to keep up. That's there. That's going to be inside of us. And that reaction, we're just going to have to ignore. But it's not going to go away. It's going to be there. At least that first instinct. So the first thing I want you to think about while you're, hopefully in a place right now where you can be a little bit more rational, where you can just think a little bit more, as we working on the divorce. I want to think of a divorce as a marathon. And that might really cause you a lot of pain because you don't want a marathon. You want this divorce over. But yeah, I want you to realize that if you want to achieve your goals and if there's opposition, then yeah, it can take a long time. So think marathon, not sprint. I'm not saying it can't be a sprint, but that's only if 2 people agree. This podcast is about when 2 people can agree. The other idea I want to share with you is only you, not me, not your friends, not your parents, only you can decide your divorce budget. Again, the budget is not just your money, it's your time, it's your energy, it's your emotion, it's your life. It's like living rent-free in your head. It's taking, money against your future self, taking time you can invest in other things. That's what we're talking about. And only you could decide if it's important enough. So we have to be smart. We have to be creative if we want to maximize our budget. I'll give an example. Let's say you have really been the primary parent for the last few years of your young child. And the other parent, works a lot, defers to you, thinks you're a loving, good parent. And, but you want to continue that. You don't want interference. and you really didn't have any interference because your way really ruled the nest. And the other side was okay with it. But when things get divorced, things change. Now you're going to have two homes. You got to have a parenting plan. And the other parent might want to have, at least on paper, in theory, an equal voice. Almost like the idea of we want to have the right, but not the obligation. So maybe instead of asking for sole custody initially, which may cause the other person to get defensive and dig in, maybe you want to just play this tactically and just ask for joint custody. And if things later on blow up, but the parent really changes stripes and wants to really interfere and is really causing problems, yes, you can always deal with that problem later. But maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. So the next concept is this idea of tactics that are geared to deplete your budget. I call them budget depleting tactics. Two I mentioned in my book are the shock and awe and the war of attrition. The shock and awe, it's that, that energy, that rumble. It's like before you know it, there's a motion filed, maybe another motion. Things are just crazy. There's no opportunity for any type of collaboration. It is just war zone. And everything is oppositional. The other war of attrition is when you're trying to think of things, what should be simple becomes so difficult. And in effect, they're blocking you from doing anything, even though they appear to be reasonable. You see that if you're trying to work out a parenting plan, they may link other issues that are not relevant to the parenting plan or focus on things that have, no importance except to just increase billing and waste time. You see this sometimes at the beginning of a divorce action. We have no default, no fault divorce. There's no reason to have lengthy complaints. Those are the pleadings. Those are the initiating documents you serve to the court. Used to be you had to have fault. You had to really list out in detail all the issues of why you want a divorce. You had to fit a certain statutory definition. One could have been cruel and inhumane, maybe adultery. But now you don't need that. You just need to say your marriage broke down. You want a divorce, then ask for the relief you want. It could just be a page or two, maybe three. If you have, though, get a 30-page complaint, that's a message. They spent all that time and money, and they're basically saying, we have deep pockets. Our issue is important, and my attorney and me have a strategy, and we're going to execute on it, and you better either play the game or we're going to run you over. That's what that's saying. But I want you to think of yourself like a bullfighter. If the bull's coming right at you, right? Maybe the best thing to do is just, move out of the way. Let that energy get dissipated. That's what I would think. You have to be creative. But when that bull's coming at you, I don't know if I can do it. I mean, I might just freeze and probably get gored, and there you go. So it's the first time until someone teaches you that you have to distract the bull. It's scary. Yeah, it's scary. I wouldn't read any of those things, especially if you get that on a Friday or get served at work. Whew. At least wait till Monday and preferably not read it at all. Give it to your attorney. Just say, is this noise? Is this noise? Do I really have to read it, or can we just deal with this another way? Let's see what they say. Last idea is you want to prepare for the unexpected. Divorce is an emotional game. It's not a rational game. This is an emotional game, just like I think weddings are an emotional game. And, you see this often with moving out. Living together in an unhappy marriage, maybe even a toxic marriage, it's not a day at the beach. It's not a day at the beach. It's not a fun way to live. And of course you want to move out. But if you have children and you don't have a parenting plan, if you move out, that can hurt your parenting rights. And though that might feel good for you, parenting is about the children. It's not necessarily about you. Courts like structure, stability. And if the other parent's playing some games and manipulating the system, the second you walk out, you become, quote unquote, the non-custodial parent. And that has certain problems. if your position is you want to be the primary parent, or at least even equal parenting time. So I agree with you. It's not fun living together. Now, if you have a safety issue and you have to go to court before even moving out. But if you don't have one of those things and it's just uncomfortable living together, you got to wait, unfortunately, and do things a certain way if you want to invest in your future self. And isn't that what we're doing on this podcast? And in your divorce, you're investing in your future self. All right, so let's wrap this up. Next time, we're focusing on the emotional budget. Oh, when emotions are high, that's how we get the derailed divorce. Those are the divorces that last over 3 years. 3 years. And that's just like a baby derailed divorce. Some derailed divorces are 10 plus years. So we're going to deal with that. And then we're going to move through each item of the budget. Each episode comes out weekly after that. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for putting in the work. Thank you for working on your divorce, not just in it. And I want you to understand you are not alone. You are not alone through this divorce. At least you have me, you have my book, you have my podcast and other resources. So you too can get a divorce without losing your mind.
Thank you for tuning in to the Getting Divorced Without Losing Your Mind podcast. We would love to hear your feedback. Send Corey an email to feedback@gettingdivorced.org. And if you've read his book, please consider leaving an Amazon review. This podcast offers general information only. It cannot replace legal advice. If you need tailored advice, contact an attorney licensed to practice in your area.